viewers, we are coming to you live from our main studio in Bakau, the Gambia. This is N24 News and I am your presenter, Madeline Njie. Coming up in the next minutes, fruits known for its production of risks of chronic diseases continues, but what are some of the challenges the vendors face? On its effort to zero crime, the police arrested 108 people were arrested, but what are the vendors of the black market saying about the arrest? In sports, Michael Mercy has been removed as Formula 1's director as part of fair restructuring. On the international front, France President Emmanuel Macron has announced that French troops will leave Mali after 9 years. These and more to feature in our today's bulletin. Stay tuned. And we start the bulletin with the Gambia police on its effort to minimize crime into zero crime force continue on their hunt on seeing zero crimes in the Gambia as they recently arrested 108 at the Serekunda black market. But what are the vendors in the market making of these patrols in the market? Our reporter Al-Amin Kajera tells us more in this report.
Following the arrest of 108 people at the Gambia's famous black market, of which 23 were charged by the police anti-crime unit for possessing suspected stolen properties, vendors and businessmen at the market protest against the manner in which the raiding was carried. Speaking to N24 on their grief, Iwaseka, a shopkeeper at the Serekunda black market, accused the police of bribery and corruption and criticized their mode of operandi. However, Iwaseka despised the notion, urging the police to stop judging them as thieves.
ñu wàccee suuf ñu ekkati xaalis jox leen ñu bàyyi leen.
so mi dene bribe ge.
exactly te ñoom most of seen réet yi nga gis yëpp bribe rek la loolu la si gars yi de soxla bu fekkee ne ñoom nag dañ am information ne dafa am xëy na fuun bu jàmbur buñ sàcca o fuuni jàmbur bu loos ñu war ko am fine am na di wee nuñ ko war a defee waaye duñ ñëw rek invade place bi yëpp di am di stop place bi yëpp te loolu noonu nekkul loo xam ne lu correct la because fii marché la ku nekkaa fee ñëw ku nekkaa fee ñu nekkaa fee daje soo doo ñëw rek mun a arrest everybody dem ngay collect ku si nekk ñii $1,500 ñii $1,000 ñii loolu correctut loolu taxut ñu insi PIU officers si Gambia bi fii nii nekkuñ ñi nga xam ne ay criminal lañ nekkuñ ñi nga xam ne ay sàccakat leen also ñun citizen yi Gambian lañ we are Gambians amuñ dara luñ def demuñ sàcci demuñ xeexi demuñ nekka like aggressive also waaye ñun dañ am suñ lu ñu yàlla wërsagal lu ndaw ñu ñëw di make suñ business fii nii di xëy on time di wàcca on time.
Seka continued to lash the police for promoting theft through their corrupt practices, yet informed the public of the market committee's plan to curb stealing and reduce crime within the market.
ko tey su ma sàccee nga jàpp ma wàccaa yow si suuf bribe la $1,500 nga bàyyi ma yaa ngi maa encourage ma dem sàccaat feneen te su boobaa yow yaa ngi disturb ñi nga xam ne ñoom ñooy soppoon si fii nii ñoom dañ ñëw pour make business fii nii.
Adding on the subject, Bandi Mike, a musician and a vendor at the market who was one time repatriated into the country from Tripoli in attempt to cross the Mediterranean Sea to Europe, admits the presence of thieves in the market.
am ñu bon daf dee am ñu baax waaye comme man lu ma mën a witness market bi ñu fi nekk time bi ñu baax yi ñoo ëpp ñu bon si because ñu bëri seen baax leen day yor jënd bagage bu set ñu jaay pour ñu am dara fay seen luwaas am na ñu fi nekk sax fii lañ gaadoo seen kër fii lañ gaadoo seen parents yi man fana la si ob bi laa jigee bon duñ kebe ñëw fii right waaye dama ñëw fii pour xosul pour ñu amee dara understand nga but comme affaire yi daal xam nga because soo gisee dara ñu ko def kenn xamut lu xew so understand nga moo tax daal comme mooy loolu moytu rek tekki yaa sa bopp daal mooy.
Meanwhile, Badu, a vendor, urges the government to come to the aid of youth in order to curb the ill practices done by them. According to him, frustration is the prime cause of most theft and its related practices committed by the youth.
fii nii pour ñëw xam nga pour ñëw maquette pour mun a faj suma soxla yi xam nga mun a jàppale suma gars yi tamit seet naka la ko xam nga dëkk bi mu ngi overhard léegi ñu ngi dem ba dangaa dem ba jeexal school sax pour nga am liggéey problème la nekka ñaata youth nga fi nekka dem nañ ba jeexal school ñu ngi intelligent waaye mënuñ ta am liggéey still now amul lu ñoo liggéey amul fu ñoo dem lu gaa dee mujjee mooy ay sécurité la gaa dee nekka so loolu dafa métti as Gambia suñ président bi dafa war a def dara muy help ñu man.
The Gambia's population halfway occupied by youth in percentage, whilst black market remains a hotspot for fast money for the country's unemployed youth. The government of the Gambia weeks ago announced of creating 500,000 jobs in 5 years, which according to the release will reduce unemployment rate in the country. A country of less than 3 million inhabitants, the continuous rise of crime continues. Reporting for N24, I am Madeline Njie.
Inauguration seems to be applause in many cases. Thus, the Ministry of Health has inaugurated an ultra-cold chain room and a refrigerator at the EPI complex at Kotu. Many were in attendance in the inauguration. Among them were representatives of various organizations. Our reporter Madeline Njie tells us more in this report.
The ultra-cold chain room was inaugurated by the Minister of Health, Honorable Ahmadullah Samate, in partnership with World Bank, UNICEF, United States, EU and WHO with support of COVAX. Lamin Samate stated that the ultra-cold refrigerator system will enable them bring in vaccines that they were not able to bring in.
That we were not able to bring in initially, and probably losing the benefits or not benefiting from the benefits of those vaccines. But now it increases our scope, and the Gambians will potentially, inshallah, in reality benefit from the vaccines like Pfizer, Moderna, and so on.
He added that having an ultra-cold refrigerator system for health sector is very crucial.
Because these fridges have other benefits. A lot of tissue samples are stored in these fridges. Blood products are stored in these fridges to ensure that they are able to stay long, have a long shelf life. Biobanks, these are very important for biobanks. Professor Umberto will be able to tell you. So we are happy to have this, to be able to store tissue samples for generations. We can keep samples in this for generations, to be able to look at them scientifically in the future. So all those are made possible. So to say, the arrival of these systems is actually going to strengthen our health sector more and more.
The inauguration of the ultra-cold refrigerator saw different walks of life attend it, and here is the World Bank representative.
We've had procured up to 266,667 Johnson & Johnson vaccines, which have supported the overall efforts of the government so far, and we're looking forward to supporting more of this.
The ultra-cold chain is not just for COVID. It can take different types of vaccines that might be useful. The aid representative of WHO was also in the midst and has this to say.
But we can't even get new vaccines that are coming up, so it prepares us much better, and the system is strengthened. So that's an opportunity. So at this time, I would like to really express my sincere appreciation for all those who supported us. From the COVAX facility perspective, there are many. Behind the collaborating partners like WHO, UNICEF, World Bank, and others, as COVAX facility, we have many other bilateral and multilateral organizations that have been putting lots of resources, like the US government, European Union, and bilaterals, who have put substantial amount of resources that made it possible for COVAX to operate and deliver the vaccines to the world.
How much can the ultra refrigerator store at a go? The UNICEF representative said it can store an average of 1.7 million.
To ensure the safe storage of even an ever greater quantity of vaccines. We're talking about a combined 2.1 thousand cubic liters of space that at any point in time can store upwards of 1.7 million vaccines. So, Minister, to get from the current 20% of fully vaccinated individuals to the projected goal of 70% of fully vaccinated individuals, vaccine availability will not be the problem. Donor support, both technical and financial, will not be the problem. And we also know that national leadership will not be the limitation. The limitation will be ensuring that we can convince the population which is being fed too much disinformation that being vaccinated against COVID is a life-saving endeavor. And as we speak here today, we cannot forget about the fact that we're talking about approximately 12,000 positive cases in the country, 364 lives that have been claimed to COVID, and we know getting vaccinated saves lives. Getting vaccinated diminishes considerably the risk of serious infection, and getting vaccinated diminishes considerably the risk of needing to be hospitalized.
Vaccines must be continuously stored in a limited temperature range from the time they are manufactured until the moment of vaccination. For N24 News, I am Ali.
The Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education held its press conference after the teachers' sit-down strike that forced students into days of not learning after officials' announcement for teachers to put their tools down. However, the sit-down strike was called off. Our reporter Usainatu Sabali tells us more in this report.
This came after the teachers' sit-down strike that forced students into days of no learning, saying the government failed to pay their COVID-19 allowances. Emily Gomez, the head of the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education MOPSI Communication Unit, said the allowances are not for every teacher, but for those who work for what they call an alternative. That is, any teacher within the period of the COVID-19 who volunteers to adhere the catch-up program on Saturday's lessons will be paid an allowance.
We need to get that very clear, because there was a model that was presented, and we have different categories of schools. And because we have different categories of schools, obviously their mode of operation will also differ. So therefore, if you were a teacher who is operating in what we call alternative, it means you have number of days that you go to school, and then you allow your colleague to go the other days while you stay at home. If you are working on Saturday, but the 3 days you were working on happen to be a Saturday, you're not entitled to this allowance.
Louis Moses Mendy, the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education MOPSI, said the COVID-19 allowances were paid according to the data collected. However, there were some data that were still remaining because of some adjustment that some head teachers decided to do in helping their students.
There were some schools that had their data intact and they submitted and they have been paid. However, in between, there were others that were claiming that they too should be paid because they were participating. And when their data came after the first one, we needed to verify that to ensure that everyone is paid appropriately. We wouldn't, as a sector, underpay or overpay anybody. Then it brings chaos.
He said last week they were able to pay the remaining teachers as per data report.
And the first one was paid and the other one was still not being paid. We engaged them again. But the challenge was when they said every teacher must be paid. Who is that teacher that needs to be paid? We need to ascertain that. And that will take time. And in doing so, their time that they give elapsed. And that's what led to it.
PS further said he is appealing to teachers who thinks he or she has taught and left out or should have been paid and has not been paid to channel their correspondence head teachers, the regional office, and even the Gambia Teachers Union, GTU, so that they can comply those, review, verify, and pay them accordingly, just to ensure there is smooth teaching and learning in the schools. Reporting for N24 News, I am Usenatu Sabali.
Fruits contain at least 90 to 95% water, which is also an important nutrient. Basically, fruits benefits a healthy lifestyle by giving people carbohydrates, fiber and micronutrients, which aids people's bodies to function properly. But what are some of the challenges these people face in selling fruits in the Gambia? Here is more of the details of the story.
Fruits known for its reduction of risk of chronic diseases. A rich diet in fruit may reduce risk for stroke, cardiovascular disease, and type 2 diabetes. Protection against cell damage and eating pattern where fruit is part of an overall healthy diet. Provides antioxidant. Kumbabari is a fruit and vegetable seller at traffic light. Said vegetables and fruits that are from Senegal and other countries are cheaper than the ones from the Gambia. Kumba takes us through on her business.
ñëpp emuñu baydolo yaa ngi bari si dëkk bi yow li nga am wala li ngay jaay nga foog ne ku nekk mën na ko ñëw fekk keneen soo amee $100 dépense soo ko yóbbee di nga taxawaalu wala le besoon doo mën a xam li ngay jënd ndax si seeraay léegi ñu naan mburus farine seer na foofu rek lañ jublu waaye lu gën a seer farine am na sukur léegi pot bi $12 diwlin pot $20 maalo moom waxi noppi bagage yaa ngi yokku rek waaye ñoom ñu ngi jublu si mburu bi rek du mburu bi rek moo yokku bagage yëpp a yokku léegi loolu su fekkee si kii ndax bagage yu bari li doon ñëw si port bi léegi ñëwatu si port bi Sénégal lay jóge di nga gis ne CFA bi dafa seer taxe bi dédouane bi yëpp dafa seer moo tax ñun tam buñ ko indee fa ñu am dara ndax nguur ngi jot taxaw dimbale ñu bagage bi ñëw directly from Europe to here di nga gis ne dina yomb tuuti waaye li nga xam ne day jógee Sénégal ñoom tam dañu foog ñu teg dara ñi koy jënd foofu ñëw indi fii foog ñu teg dara loolu moo gën a métti affaire bi ñu jóg dimbale nit ñi.
Kumbabari further said a lack of pest control and storage facilities is affecting her business and they depend on the business for survival. Fruits contain at least 90 to 95% water, which is also an important nutrient. Basically, fruits benefits a healthy lifestyle by giving us carbohydrates, fiber, and micronutrients which aids our bodies to function properly. Fruits give you more energy than sugar or sweets as they contain natural glucose and fructose. Reporting for N24 News, I am Usenatu Sabali.
And away from that story, we head to the world of sports. First, in the world of Formula One, Michael Mercy has been removed as F1 race director as part of a restructured and governing body, the FIA, in the wake of last year's Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. FIA President Mohammed Ben Sulayem announced a series of changes as a result of the inquiry into the controversial end to last year's World Championship. Mercy failed to correctly apply the rules in a late safety car period and had a direct impact on the outcome of the title race. Two people will now alternate in the role, while extra help will be provided to officials. And away from the AFCON and the latest happenings of sports, let's now look at the latest of the internationals. France and its allies in a European force will withdraw their troops from Mali after almost a decade. President Emmanuel Macron has announced. The troops have been involved in the fight against Islamist militants in the country since 2013. Mr. Macron said the decision to leave followed a breakdown in diplomatic relations amid growing hostility from Mali's governing military junta. The force will be redeployed elsewhere in Africa's Sahel region. Almost 5,000 France troops are deployed in the Sahel region to combat Islamic insurgency as part of Operation Bakhane, with around 2,400 of those located at 3 bases in northern Mali. At least more than 50 people have been killed in a landslide and flood that occurred in the Brazilian city of Petropolis, which now seems a war zone area. Viewers, I'm afraid that's all time we have in today's bulletin. Stay tuned to your favorite N24 TV.